J.K. Rowling's story did not begin with success. It began with loss. She was not rich. She was not famous. She was not confident. She was struggling just to survive. At one point in her life, J.K. Rowling was a single mother with no stable income. She was living on government support. Some days, she worried about how she would take care of her child. Her marriage had failed. Her future felt uncertain. Her confidence was gone. She later said this was the lowest point of her life. Many people around her didn't see a future full of promise. They saw someone who had failed. Someone who had made bad choices. Someone who should lower expectations and accept reality. But inside her mind, something powerful existed. A story. While riding a train one day, an idea came to her. A story about a boy who didn't know who he really was. A boy who felt ordinary but was actually special. That idea stayed with her. Even when life was hard. Even when money was short. Even when hope felt distant. She began writing whenever she could. Late nights. Quiet moments. Anytime she found space. Writing became her escape from pain. But believing in a story is one thing. Convincing the world is another. She finished her manuscript and sent it to publishers. Then the rejection started. Again. And again. But J.K. Rowling didn't let rejection decide her worth. She had already lost so much that rejection no longer scared her. Failure had trained her. She believed something deeply. That stories matter. That imagination matters. That this story deserved a chance. And she was willing to wait. What she didn't know yet was that the same book, being rejected, would soon change her life, and the world, forever. Life did not get easier after the first rejections. It became harder. She was raising a child alone. Money was always tight. Every day came with quiet fear. Fear of bills, fear of the future, fear of failure. Some days, just getting out of bed felt heavy. Depression followed her closely. She later spoke openly about how dark those moments were. Not the kind of sadness that passes, but the kind that makes you question your value. Still, she wrote, not because it was easy. Not because it paid money. Because it gave her purpose. Writing was the one place where pain became meaning. Where fear became imagination. Where rejection became fuel. She believed that if the story was good enough, someone would eventually listen. But the rejections kept coming. Each letter looked the same. Polite words. Cold sentences. A clear message. No. Publishers didn't see magic. They didn't see a future. They didn't see value. People around her worried. They asked how long she could keep chasing something that brought nothing back. They suggested safer choices, practical paths. But practical paths didn't heal her. Stories did. So she edited, she rewrote, she improved every page. Had shaped the story's soul. And the world was about to discover it. When the book finally reached readers, nothing exploded overnight. There were no big interviews. No massive sales numbers. No instant fame. At first, it moved quietly. Children read it and wanted more. Parents noticed how deeply their kids cared. Teachers talked about it. Libraries saw waiting lists grow. Something rare was happening. People weren't just reading the story. They were feeling it. The boy in the story was misunderstood. He felt unwanted. He didn't know his value. Readers connected, because many of them felt the same way. Slowly, word spread. Not through advertising. Not through hype. Through emotion. Bookstores reordered copies. Reviews appeared. Conversations started. The same industry that had rejected the manuscript began paying attention. Publishers who once said, no, now asked questions. What is this book? Why are people talking about it? The answer was simple. The story was honest. It was written by someone who knew rejection personally. Someone who understood loneliness, fear, and hope, not from imagination, but from life. As sales increased, something inside her didn't change. Fear. She still worried it could all disappear. She still remembered the rejection letters. She still remembered how close she had been to giving up. Success felt fragile, but the story kept growing. More books followed. Each one reached deeper. Each one expanded the world readers loved. The audience wasn't limited to children anymore. Adults read it too. Entire families shared it. Soon, the story crossed borders. Different countries, different languages, different cultures. The same publishers who once doubted her now competed for rights. Film studios noticed. Conversations turned serious. What began as quiet survival writing was becoming something global. And through it all, she stayed grounded. She didn't celebrate rejection turning into revenge. She respected rejection for shaping her discipline. She understood something important. If the world had accepted her easily, the story might not have been as strong. Rejection forced patience. Patience forced quality. Quality created connection. The woman who once worried about feeding her child was now facing a future she never imagined. But the most important part of the journey was still ahead. Because true revenge is not being noticed once. It's being remembered forever. Success arrived slowly at first. Then all at once. The books were no longer just popular, they were everywhere. Sales crossed numbers nobody expected. Film studios turned the story into movies. Actors became stars. Lines formed outside bookstores. The world that once ignored J.K. Rowling now celebrated her. She became one of the most successful authors in history. Money followed. Awards followed. Fame followed. And eventually, she became a billionaire. But what people didn't see was how heavy success felt. Because success didn't erase memory. She still remembered writing in silence. She still remembered rejection letters. She still remembered feeling invisible. Now, every word she spoke was analyzed. Every decision was judged. Fame brought pressure. Success brought criticism. People questioned her choices. They questioned her opinions. They questioned her character. Once again, the world had an opinion. But this time, rejection looked different. It wasn't letters saying, no. It was headlines, arguments, public judgment. And once again, she didn't run. She didn't change who she was to please everyone. She stayed grounded in the same belief that carried her through rejection: honesty. She continued writing. She continued supporting causes she believed in. She continued telling stories. Because she understood something very important. If you let rejection decide who you are, you lose twice. She had already survived the worst kind of rejection. Being told she had no future. Everything after that was manageable. Her success wasn't built on luck. It wasn't built on connections. It was built on endurance. 12 rejections didn't stop her. Poverty didn't stop her. Depression didn't stop her. And fame didn't change her. The woman who once feared being forgotten had become impossible to erase. But the most powerful part of her story wasn't the money. It was the message. That stories written in pain can heal millions. That rejection doesn't mean worthless. That patience can outlast doubt. And the final lesson was still waiting. In the end, J.K. Rowling's story was never about becoming rich. Money came later. The real story was about being rejected when you already feel broken. She was told no when she had nothing. She was rejected when she was poor. She was ignored when she needed belief the most. 12 publishers said her story had no future. But what they didn't know was this. The story survived because she survived. Every rejection forced her to believe without validation. Every quiet night writing alone strengthened her discipline. Every moment of doubt taught her patience. She didn't fight rejection with anger. She didn't argue with critics. She stayed consistent. When success finally arrived, it didn't change who she was. It revealed who she had always been, someone who could endure without applause. The same world that once Rejected, her words now built an entire universe around them. Books became global. Films became legendary. A story written in pain became comfort for millions. That is real revenge. Not embarrassing the people who doubted you. Not proving anything loudly, but creating something so meaningful that rejection no longer matters. J.K. Rowling showed the world that being rejected doesn't mean you are wrong. Sometimes, it means you are early. Her journey reminds us of something important. If